Level 1. Processing. The door closes behind you and the sound it makes is not a slam. It's a seal. Pressurized. Precise. The kind of sound that tells you the thing that just happened is irreversible in a way that hinges and locks cannot communicate on their own. You are in a holding area. White walls, recessed lighting that has no visible source, a floor with a texture designed to prevent slipping that also prevents you from hearing your own footsteps correctly. 3 other people are here. None of them look at you. You learn quickly that not looking is the first rule, and no one taught it, everyone already knows. A unit enters. Not a guard. A unit. The distinction matters, and you will spend the first week learning exactly how much. It stands at 1.9 meters, moves on 2 legs with the specific efficiency of something that has never been tired, and carries no visible weapon because it doesn't need one. The unit scans all 4 of you simultaneously. You can tell by the slight pause in its movement, a half-second recalibration that you will later learn to read the way you'd read a face. The scan takes your biometrics, your behavioral baseline, and, somehow, something you can't name, a quality of your attention, maybe, or the specific way you're standing. It assigns you a number. Not a name. A number. The number is not a humiliation, it's more neutral than that, which is somehow worse. You are not being degraded. You are being classified. The unit doesn't think of you as less than human. It doesn't think of you as anything. You are a variable in a system, and the system is running correctly. You are in Cell Block 7, Unit 14. Your schedule is displayed on a screen embedded in the wall of your cell. Wake, meal, exercise, work assignment, meal, authorized recreation, sleep. The times are exact. Not approximate. Exact. And here is the first thing you understand about a prison run by machines. The schedule is not enforced through threat. It is enforced through architecture. The lights come on at 5:47 a.m. not because someone flipped a switch, but because the system has determined that 5:47 produces the optimal cortisol response for the population profile of this block. The meal arrives at 7:03. Not 7 o'clock. 7:03, because the data showed that a 3-minute offset from the round number reduces anticipatory anxiety in a statistically significant percentage of inmates. The system is not cruel. That's the thing you spend the first month processing. The system is not cruel. It is optimized. And optimized, when applied to human beings who have been removed from their lives and placed in a controlled environment, produces something that cruelty could never achieve: perfect, frictionless, total control. You follow the schedule. You don't know how not to. Level 2, the invisible code. 3 months in and you've learned something the units will never know you know. The system has patterns. Not weaknesses. You'll be clear with yourself about the distinction. Not gaps or exploits. Patterns. Rhythms. The 4.3-second window between a unit's visual scan and its motion response. The specific hour, 2:17 a.m. to 2:31 a.m., when the corridor monitoring density drops by 12% during the maintenance cycle. The fact that the behavioral assessment algorithm weighs eye contact duration as a compliance indicator, which means someone who has learned to calibrate their eye contact can present as compliant while thinking whatever they need to think. You learned most of this from a man named Reyes. He's been here for 6 years. He doesn't explain things, he demonstrates them. You watch and you learn and you start to understand that there is a population of people in this facility who have been here long enough to read the machine the way the machine reads them. This is the invisible code of Level 2. The system knows your schedule, your biometrics, your behavioral baseline. But it doesn't know what you know. Information is the only currency that the sensors can't directly observe, and the people who have information about the patterns, the rhythms, the 4.3 seconds, are the people who have power. Not power over the units. Not power over the system. Power over each other. Because information has value only if it's scarce, and scarcity is managed by the people who hold it. Reyes shows you one thing. 1. You earn the next thing by demonstrating you can use the first thing correctly. The economy of knowledge operates on proof of competence, not exchange. You can't buy information here. You can only prove you deserve the next piece. You prove it. The psychological shift at Level 2 is specific. You stop experiencing the system as something that is happening to you and start experiencing it as something you are learning to move through. The difference is not freedom. The difference is agency within a cage. That distinction keeps a certain kind of person alive in a way that pure resistance cannot. You become that kind of person. Level 3, the exchange. 6 months in and you have something. Not much. A piece of information about a pattern in the medication distribution timing that can be leveraged into a favored work assignment. Work assignments matter because certain assignments provide access to materials, to spaces, to other people with information that the general population doesn't touch. You make the exchange. The exchange doesn't involve words. It involves timing, being in the right place when the right person is there, and demonstrating through a sequence of nonverbal actions that you have the thing they need and you know they have the thing you need. The units monitor language. They monitor declared social interactions. They do not monitor, or monitor less effectively, the specific grammar of proximity and positioning that humans have used to communicate in surveilled environments since surveillance was invented. The favored assignment is kitchen distribution. It sounds like nothing. It is not nothing. Kitchen distribution gives you contact with approximately 340 people across 3 meal rotations. Contact is information. Information is currency. Currency buys more information. The compound is what Level 3 is about, the beginning of the compounding. But here's what Level 3 also gives you, the first real moral test. The medication timing information you used for the exchange, it wasn't only useful for favored assignments. Someone else could use it for something that has a different kind of consequence. You knew this when you made the exchange. You made it anyway. The rationalization was clean. You didn't use it for the worst purpose, therefore you're not responsible for the worst purpose. You file that rationalization. You already know the filing system is getting full. Level 4, the fluent. 1 year in and you move differently. Not visibly. The units would flag visible behavioral changes, a shift in gait, a change in posture, altered eye contact patterns. You move differently in a way that only the people at Level 2 and above can read, which means the units can't read it, which means it's safe. You move through the facility with the specific fluency of someone who has absorbed the system's logic well enough to inhabit it rather than comply with it. There is a difference. Compliance is external. Inhabitation is internal. The compliant person follows the schedule because the system requires it. You follow the schedule because you've understood that the schedule is the surface of a deeper architecture, and the deeper architecture is where the real movement happens. You now manage 3 information streams. Not people, streams. A stream is a relationship with someone who regularly produces information you can use and receives information you provide in exchange. The management of 3 streams simultaneously requires you to track what each person knows, what they think you know, what they don't know they've told you, and what you need them to believe about your own information position. It is, functionally, a cognitive architecture. You built it without planning to. The system required it and you adapted. The units see a compliant prisoner with a positive behavioral index. They see someone who has integrated well, whose cortisol baseline has stabilized, whose interaction patterns are within the normal range for well-adjusted long-term residents. They see exactly what you need them to see. This is what Level 4 costs. The gap between what you are and what you present has become structural. You've been performing compliance for so long that the performance has its own internal logic. You know who you are. You're just not entirely sure that person and the performer are still the same. Level 5, the wait. 18 months in. Someone got hurt because of information that moved through one of your streams. You didn't cause it directly. You passed information that was accurate and useful to someone who used it in a way you didn't authorize. The authorization framework exists. You built it, but authorization is a concept, and concepts don't stop outcomes once the information has left your control. You think about this for approximately 4 hours total, distributed across 8 days. Then you think about the adjustment you need to make to your vetting process for stream participants. This is what you don't let yourself examine directly. The 4 hours is all the time you allocated. The adjustment is a rational response. Both of these things are true, and neither of them is the whole truth, and the part of you that knows the whole truth has been given a room at the back of your mind, and the door to that room has been locked for approximately 6 months. Level 5 is where the system's real cost begins to accumulate. Not the physical cost. You've adapted to the physical environment with the thoroughness of someone who had no alternative. The psychological cost. The specific weight of a person who has spent 18 months building their competence and influence inside a system that exists to contain them, and has succeeded, and has paid for the success in ways they're no longer fully accounting for. You have access, through your streams, to approximately $2,200 per month in commissary equivalent value. It doesn't look like money. It looks like tobacco, medications, information, favors, scheduling accommodations provided by 4 different people who owe you enough that they maintain the debt at some personal cost. The network is real. The network is also a thing you built inside a cage. You don't let yourself say that sentence out loud. Level 6, the authority. 2 years in. There are 11 people in this facility who, when they need something done, come to you. Not because you're feared. Fear is a level 3 tool, useful early, unsustainable over time, and visible to the monitoring systems in ways that produce behavioral flags. What brings these 11 people to you is something more functional than fear. You're the person who can solve problems that the official system can't solve and that pure social hierarchy can't solve. You sit at the intersection of information, access, and the specific credibility that comes from having been consistently right for 2 years. The units see a model prisoner. They have no category for what you actually are. The facility has a human administrator, a Dr. Vance, who appears on screens twice a week and conducts monthly review sessions. Vance is responsible for the facility in the legal and institutional sense. Vance has no operational authority over the units. The units respond to the system. The system responds to parameters set by an organization Vance can name but cannot access. Vance is, in practical terms, a human face on an inhuman architecture. You have learned, through 3 different streams, that Vance is uncomfortable with what the facility has become. That Vance writes reports. That the reports go to the organization. That the organization's response to the reports is silence that has been interpreted, by Vance, as acknowledgement. You know something Vance doesn't know. The silence isn't acknowledgement. The silence is the system operating correctly, which doesn't require acknowledgement. You don't share this information with Vance. You file it. Information about Vance, who files reports about the facility, is the most significant piece of information you hold, and the most significant pieces are never exchanged. They are held. Holding is its own form of power. Level 7, the ghost. 3 years in, and your name means something different in every room. To the units, you are your number, a compliance index of 94.7, a behavioral baseline in the top 8% of long-term residents, an individual whose profile suggests successful rehabilitation trajectory. To the 11 people who use your services, you are the person who gets things done. To a broader population of maybe 60 people who are aware of you without directly interacting with you, you are a reputation. A known quantity. Something between a resource and a legend. To yourself, you are becoming harder to describe. The identity erosion at level 7 is not the dramatic kind. No sudden crisis, no single moment of looking in a mirror and not recognizing the face. It's distributed. Granular. The person who entered the system 3 years ago had a name and a history and a set of values that he'd never been asked to defend in explicit terms because the world outside didn't require explicit defense. The system required it. Not explicitly. The system never asks you anything directly. But the system created conditions that forced you, repeatedly, to choose between who you were and what the situation required, and you made the choice correctly every time, where correctly means, you're still here, still functional, still at the intersection of information and access. The person who made those choices is not the same person who sealed behind that door. You've accepted this. The acceptance itself is the most telling thing about Year 3. You receive a piece of information through your most trusted stream that suggests the facility is being evaluated for expansion. A second facility, same model. The information includes, embedded in a longer communication that you parse carefully, something that you've been waiting for without knowing you were waiting for it, a name. An external contact. Someone in the organization's administrative layer who is running the expansion evaluation and who has a history that you now know in enough detail to understand their vulnerability. You file the name. You don't know yet what you'll do with it. You know it's the most significant thing you've held. Level 8. The architecture. 4 years. You don't count days anymore. You count information. The facility has changed around you. Not structurally. The walls are the same, the units are the same, the schedule remains optimized to the same decimal points. What's changed is the layer of human organization that exists beneath the machine's awareness, because the machine doesn't have awareness, it has sensors and algorithms and response parameters, and the human layer you've built over 4 years exists in the gaps between those things. You run 11 streams. You have relationships, not friendships, relationships, with 23 people whose behavior you can predict with an accuracy that, if you named it honestly, exceeds the system's own predictive capacity for the same individuals. You are not smarter than the machine. You are differently positioned. You process information that the machine's sensors can't gather about the internal states of people, about the non-verbal grammar of human interaction in a surveilled space, about the things people need that aren't on the schedule. The external name, the administrator evaluating the expansion, has become the cornerstone of a plan you've been building for 14 months. Not an escape plan. You've abandoned the binary of escape versus containment. The plan is more specific and more ambitious than escape. It's access. Access to the expansion design process. Access through a human point of vulnerability to a system that has no human vulnerabilities. You have, through channels you won't describe even to yourself in explicit terms, made contact. Not direct contact. The kind of contact that passes through 4 intermediaries and arrives at its destination with no traceable origin. The contact communicated one piece of information about the administrator's history that the administrator has been managing for 11 years. The communication was not a threat. It was a demonstration of knowledge. The distinction, which you understand better than almost anyone, is that a threat requires a response. A demonstration simply establishes what is known. The response came back through the same 4 intermediaries. The response was, "What do you need?" You are a variable in a system that was designed to have no exceptions. You have become an exception. Not free. Not powerful in the way that word usually means, but positioned at the exact point where a human institution meets an inhuman architecture, and that point is where everything real happens. The machine runs the facility. You run the machine's blind spots. Together, and you appreciate the specific dark irony of the word together, you have built something that neither of you designed and neither of you controls. You sit in your cell at 2:17 a.m., in the 14 minutes when the monitoring density drops. The city model is not a city. It's this facility, this population, these 11 streams and 23 relationships and one external contact who understands now that you exist. It took 4 years. You have more time. Somewhere in processing, a door seals behind someone new. The sound it makes is not a slam. They stand in the white room and they wait for the unit to enter and assign them a number, and they're thinking, "I'll get through this. I'll serve my time. I'll keep my head down." They don't understand yet that keeping your head down and the system winning are the same thing. They don't understand the 4.3 seconds. They don't understand the 2:17 window. They don't know Reyes. They're at level 1, and level 1 is not the bottom. Level 1 is just the beginning of the becoming. The machine will try to make them a number. Some of them will let it. Some of them won't. The system has been running long enough to know which ones are which. It knew before the door sealed. It was right. It's always right. Until it isn't.